Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. It's often said that the third time is a charm. Well, that is a phrase former national player and coach Anton Corneal could be using now as the 58-year-old is returning to the post of Trinidad and Tobago FA's technical director for a third time, following previous appointments back in 2012 and 2017. Corneal's appointment sees the end of Dion Lafoucade's reign following his appointment back in 2020 under the leadership of then TTFA President William Wallace. In a statement released, Corneal said he is ready to tackle the sport's rebuilding in TNT. Here's what he said. "It's always an honour to give back to the game and to my country. We are in the rebuilding stage of football in our country due to the inactivity of sports overall. So this time calls for proper planning and implementation of all our programs, inclusive of youth football, elite football, coach education, youth national teams, club football and leagues, academies, and zonal football development." Now, overseeing body, the TTFA, also congratulated Corneal on his appointment. And here's what the TTFA under the Normalization Committee says. Corneal will, among other roles, provide strategic direction, oversight and management of the technical director, delivering advice across all aspects of the department, as well as contributing to the communication and delivery of our football philosophy across all areas. He will also spearhead the coach education program, which will include the delivery of coaching courses and workshops. Trinidad and Tobago are currently ranked 12th in CONCACAF and 100th in the FIFA rankings after uncharacteristically spending a few years outside the world's top 100. They suffered repeated blows in their football program, resulting in them not getting favourable results on the field. In their last 10 results, they've only had 3 victories. Let's look at their results now. Yeah, they had victories over Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat. Outside of that, draws and losses. And I should say, before those 10 matches that we're looking at here, they had lost 6 of their last 7 matches before those that you're currently seeing on your screen. Now, joining us now is Editor-in-Chief at Wired 868, that outstanding online news source, Lisana Liburd. Lisana, shocking when I saw this today, because I know that Anton Corneal has had some treacherous experiences with the TTFA and his salary and so on. I know different people are in charge now, but how surprising was this development for you?
Actually, it's been in the works, I would say, Lance. Talks really have been going on since maybe even November 2020 or thereabouts. In fact, almost as soon as the Normalization Committee came in, there was word that Corneal might actually be a member of the Normalization Committee itself, you know. So, if anything, it was a surprise that it took so long, to be honest.
Yeah, we know that Anton Corneal is someone really passionate about football from his playing days and, you know, subsequently coaching and so on. But what does it say about his personality or character that he could have had such horrible experiences in football coaching in Trinidad and Tobago and still going back to take this job? Because as far as I know, the TTFA still has a lot of money owing to him, doesn't it?
Yes. Certainly, Anton Corneal worked in the States before in the college programs. He could earn a good living there. Of course, as a CONCACAF consultant, he's all around the Caribbean. Again, I want to believe he would have opportunities there as well. So, you know, certainly his heart is in Trinidad and Tobago. The fact that he always seems to want to set up anchor here. One interesting thing is that he wouldn't rely entirely on the TTFA for his bread and butter, per se, because he does retain his roles as a CONCACAF and FIFA consultant. So that means he would essentially have 2 jobs, let's say.
Yeah.
One full-time job and one maybe more of a part-time thing.
Right, Lisana, and this time around, you know, how confident are you that it would actually work out with him and the governing body, and that, you know, he can effect the change that they are hoping that he will do?
Well, it depends on what you consider work out.
Yeah.
Because there are very few teams actually active. No teams are really playing anyway outside of games they have to. So that should mean that there's money laying about there. and he should be able to get paid at least. Whether he gets the resources he needs to do his job adequately is something else. For instance, with no domestic football for about 2 years now, and our youth teams have all been active up until maybe a month or two ago, right? That means that the young players in our country have done absolutely nothing. They have not developed at all for 2 years. And in that time, the government had given permission for the national team to run its youth programs, and it never happened under youth coach or the TD. We can only hope that their minds have, somehow they're more interested in football in 2022 than they were in 2020 or 2021. And that Anton Corneal could get some of the kids out on the field developing again.
Yeah, and I think what stood out for me is his contract is 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Is that enough time, you feel? Because, we keep pushing around this word, rebuilding. Trinidad is in the rebuilding phase, we're rebuilding. Is 2 years enough to rebuild based on the rock bottom that Trinidad and Tobago football has hit?
Yeah, well, I would say if I were Anton Corneal, I don't think he ever lasted more than just about 2 years before. Before walking away because of frustration about his contract. So maybe 2 years is a fair start for him, right? But I would say in theory, that is a decent period for evaluation. Let's see what is being done and if you're delivering on what you would like and so on, and we continue. That's how I would like to view it anyway. I noticed that the release from the TTFA didn't actually say what his deliverables are at all. They said some stuff about advice and stuff about philosophy, pretty vague. Coaching education, but then he's also doing that for FIFA CONCACAF. And it didn't say exactly what Dean Lafuka did either for the 2 years that he was in charge. Nobody knows really what Lafuka did apart from the odd webinar. So we hope to find out what's happening in there. Right now, we don't know.
Yeah, Lisana, your Wired 868 report said that he is currently owed upwards of 3.5 million TT dollars by the TTFA, which is just over $500,000 US. That's a lot of money. Have they spoken to him at all about where they stand with that?
Well, right now they have invoked the Bankruptcy Act to get some breathing time, and in theory they are creating a plan to take the creditors right now. Of course, this is something that they were mandated to do since March 2020, so it's interesting that they only now kind of hammering down on it. But Anton is just one of those creditors. He's one of the largest. He's the third largest creditor, but he would also be waiting to hear from the TTFA. I believe the 6 months would be up somewhere about April, I think. And by then, the TTFA, through its trustee, should be able to say something to the creditors, and I'm sure Anton would be very anxious about that. He has certainly not waived, the right to his money. So yeah, he'll be looking forward to that as well.
One of the TT newspapers quoted the head coach, Angus Eve, of welcoming and embracing Anton Corneal back into that position. Is that a popular view in the football fraternity there?
I think most football people do have a good view of Anton and his football acumen and his relative success, maybe better than relative. He's been a part of 3 World Cup teams after all for Trinidad and Tobago over the years. On the ground, it's always a bit split with Anton. I think that has to do with his father, Alvin Corneal, who was a Hall of Fame footballer here. But there was always that feeling among some persons that, let's just say the pressure of being Alvin Corneal's son, sometimes, gave people a negative view of what he was actually doing or his words. But I think by now his record kind of speaks for itself, and most football people are happy to have him around.
Okay, Lisana, thank you very much for talking to us. I know Alvin Corneal well. My first ever overseas assignment was the Indianapolis Pan American Games back in 1987, and Anton Corneal was there covering for one of the newspapers in TNT, and we sort of got on together as a group. So I know Alvin very well. But great talking to you as usual, Lisana, and we'll be in touch. And let's hope Anton Corneal can get TNT's football moving.
Yeah, we hope so. Thanks, Lance.
Yeah, okay, we go to break. Still a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone. Back after this.